Hey friends, big hello to everyone. It's Sergey with you, and this is the YouTube channel Assistance TV. In this video, I'm going to tell you about fishing knots. So to speak, fishing knots, the simplest and most versatile ones that can be used for catching fish, whether it's on a spinning rod, a feeder, or various homemade rigs, for crucian carp and carp. Guys, first of all, let's talk about what we're going to use to tie the knots. We're going to tie the knots using monofilament line, regular carp line, and braided line. For this video, I chose quite thick lines and a thick braid so that everything is clear to you. There's a carp line, regular monofilament line, and braided line. Friends, first of all, I want to remind you, for those who don't know the difference between regular monofilament and carp line, this is important because different knots will hold differently. Look, this is regular monofilament line. Here it is in this video. It's going to be clear. It's quite thick. And if we take a distance like this, about 50 centimeters, and we're going to stretch it, it stretches very little. This is regular line, which has a low degree of stretch. You see, it stretches very little. If we take this line, its diameter is 0.35, and this one is 0.30. If we take the same length of carp line, it will stretch much more at the same length. Carp fishing line. It stretches a lot. It has a high degree of extensibility. For knots, this is very important because you need to make a good knot if you're fishing with this type of line. Why do you need line for carp? Such a high degree of stretch. Carp are powerful fish. They have a strong bite to smooth out all their jerks. And when you're reeling it in, the line will really help you a lot. Despite the fact that the rod and reel help you, the line will do many more useful things for you and forgive your mistakes in landing the fish. If it stretches a lot like this over a meter, about 15 centimeters, just imagine, if the length is 20, 30, or even 50 meters, how much it will stretch. I want to say right away that braided line with overpen has no stretch at all. It's like a steel cable, guys, it doesn't stretch at all. It's strong, but it has no stretch at all. The first knot I want to tell you about is called the Palomar knot. And you can tie hooks, swivels, feeder baskets, and various other fishing accessories, guys. The knot is very simple. You can tie it literally with your eyes closed. And now I will show you how to tie it, using the example of a swivel and a fishing hook. Here's our swivel, and we thread the line, guys, like this, doubling it over into our ear, in owls. We leave the ear, and then we tie a regular knot that we are used to tying. It's tied very simply, we just throw one over the other and pass it through from the back. Now, at this very moment, we simply just don't pull this tight yet. And now we throw this loop completely over our swivel and tighten it. So we've got the simplest knot tied here. This is one of the simplest knots. Here we have two ends of the line. One is the main line and the other is a short one that we just folded. And we cut it. We cut it, not too close, but leave about 5 millimeters, because any knot can always stretch. Pull it tight, and this end will be slightly shorter so that it never comes undone. You should never cut it too close. And, friends, I want to point out one small detail about all knots. When you tighten them, you need to wet them. Either take water on your fingers, or as all fishermen do, wet them with saliva. But since we have an epidemic in the world right now, guys, don't moisten your fingers with saliva, don't lick them. Just grab a little water and wipe it before you tighten it firmly. Because the weakest element in a knot, in the rig, is actually the knot itself. And if it gets overheated at the moment of tightening, when we're pulling it tight, the line will heat up. She's in it. At the moment, it weakens, because it heats up when we pull. To prevent it from overheating, it's best to moisten it. And then everything will be great for you. Now I'll show you how to tie it. This same knot using a fishing hook as an example. After that, we pull out the line. And we tie a regular knot here. First, this loop, we cast it right here. And we cast it onto our hook. We pull all of this tight. Before that, as I said, make sure to wet it. and just pull it tight. Here, the excess end of the line, we just cut, but again, not too close. With a margin, that's what we do. Guys, during the quarantine, we order a lot of products online. I want to recommend that you use the e-catalog because you can choose and compare any products there. You can also check different prices from various online stores. It's all done very simply. We're moving on to the e-catalog, where you can choose laptops, TVs, cameras, mobile phones, and other gadgets, and most importantly, fishing gear. We're moving on. In the tourism and fishing tab, we select fishing and choose spinning reels. We filter by parameters, making the spool size less than 1000, because I want a reel for ultralight fishing. There are a lot of different reels, guys, starting from the most budget-friendly ones, the lowest and cheapest prices, finishing up with top manufacturers and good quality, and of course an expensive price. For every taste and color, for any budget so to speak, you can check prices in different online stores, look at product specifications, product photos, and compare items with each other to understand what you really need. So, guys, about all the products, you can see all the different specifications, the weight, the production date of the product, the number of bearings, the spool size, and more. If you're interested, the link to the catalog will be in the description below this video. Guys, go ahead, browse, and order all the products online. Don't go out while you're at home. And this won't affect us at all. And if it does, it will only be on the surface, and no one will notice it. I wish you all good health, guys. May everything be awesome. The link is in the description. Friends, this is an improved clinch. There's the regular clinch. But this clinch is called improved because it includes an additional back loop in the setup. Now I'll explain everything to you in detail. This knot is used to tie fishing hooks, swivels, feeders, and various other fishing tackle. It's used for both monofilament lines and braided threads. Here's our swivel and line. This knot is tied, guys, with a single line. We thread it through the swivel. We pull back a little, holding it with our hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns, that's how it's done correctly. Some do more. Now, this end, this first loop, that was near the swivel, we insert it here. And we pull it back out here, where we started from. Out, and we tighten all of this up. You definitely need to wet this knot, because that's where the line rubs the most. Friends, do you see what kind of friction we get? When we tighten it, we have... So there's a big loop at the end. This knot definitely won't come undone, because it supports itself with the upper hitch loops. They will constantly be pulling it tight. We cut off the excess end, the free end, just like that, but definitely not too close. Guys, I'm showing you again how to tie it. We thread the end into our... We hold the swivel here with our finger 1. 2, 4, 5 turns. We thread this edge right here where we held the loop. We put it back into this loop like this. Now we hold both sides slightly and everything tightens itself up. Here it is, the knot again. What a handsome fellow we have got. The next knot is called a figure 8. Guys, the figure 8 is tied very simply and holds very well. I knit the guys with it, line to line leashes. I knit thin line to thick line, swivels, and loops that I make for leashes. This, guys, is a wonderful knot that I use most often in feeder fishing. Now I'm going to tell you how to tie it. The figure 8 can be tied in 2 ways. Both methods are quite simple. I'm going to show you exactly those. Here we have 2 lines of different diameters and colors for clarity. Now I'm going to show you how to tie the knot. We take these lines and fold them in half. Like this, guys, we just make a loop, laying one over the other. And here's this free end. So where do we have 2 of them? we wrap it around and then we just thread it through. Right here. When we now drag out this whole thing, we get it here. The figure 8, we tighten it. This knot will never come undone. It will hold the two connections tightly and the line won't slip. The second method, in my opinion, is even simpler. Again, we fold the two lines in half and make a loop. Now we don't wrap it around. We just take this loop, twist it once in our hands, and from the other side we insert it into the loops. So here we have the figure 8, see? Here it is. We tighten it. That's it. Just like that, everything has tightened up perfectly. Don't forget to wet the knots. And these two excess ends that we don't need, we just cut them off with scissors right here. As you can see, with this knot you can connect two lines, or you can tie one line. And now I'm going to show you how I make loops for feeder rigs using this same figure 8 knot. Because this knot is simple and holds the loop on the feeder rig really well, and it can be tied in just a few seconds. Here we have the fishing line. Let's imagine we're tying a feeder rig with it, although it will be much thinner. But again, for clarity, we take the knot with the thick line. Exactly. We also fold it in half. We fold it, we twist, and this same double knot. We thread it through here. Now we carefully pull it tight. Here's our figure 8. We pull it closer to the edge of the loop. And we just tighten all of this up. We pulled it tight. And here we have it after tightening. Here we have a nice loop that is secured with a strong knot called the figure 8. We cut along the edge, but again we don't cut it right up to the edge, but we leave a few millimeters of millimeter, or 3 as a rule, up to 5. And here's the loop. Now we're going to thread everything through like this, loop through loop. The next thing I want to talk about is how to properly thread a loop through a loop, because we can tie the rig using different knots. But some people in the comments ask, Seryoga, how do you properly attach it to the feeder? Because some make a very common mistake, and their two loops don't hold at 100%, but only at 50%, because they push one loop behind the other, and the second one just goes in a ring, when in fact both should hold on to each other. A loop goes through a loop, any base where there are two loops. So for example, a rig and a feeder, a rig and a rig, a rig and a line. In general, any base where there are two loops. So now I'm going to show you how to properly thread a loop through a loop. Here we have two loops. Let's imagine that these are two rigs for us. Here they are coming with the main line. How to do it wrong? Fishermen take the line through this loop. The rig and the free end of the rig tightens it right here. This way, when they make the main tightening, here, only one leader is working. This one is clamped here with a knot, and this leader just goes through the ring. Guys, this is the wrong way to tighten it. The correct tightening is done when we put the leader on top. And we pass the second free end not through our own leader, but into another one. Now when we tighten these two leaders, we will have this. This is a connection that slides and rubs against each other. You see, now during the tightening, we will have two leaders playing, and the two leaders will hold on. And my favorite knot, which I've been using since childhood, was taught to me by my father. I always tie all my fishing hooks with such knots. I really like it. It's very strong. In my entire life, I don't think I've ever had it come undone if it's tied correctly. Another advantage of this knot is that you can tie hooks with an eye and hooks with a shank. Where there is no eye, there's just a small shank. It can be tied with absolutely any line, whether it's a braid or any diameter. This knot is called a spindle, but to me it looks like a cry. The advantage is that I have it, but I can tie it with my eyes closed, just by feel, even at night while fishing. The advantage is that you can tie it with any type of fishing line or braid, and you can tie hooks with or without a shank. This is the given advantage. If you want to tie, for example, a swivel with this knot instead of a hook, you need to make a lot of turns and wrap it several times at the end. Free end. For swivels, it is better to use the knots that I told you about earlier. And let's save this knot for the hook. Our free end of the line and the hook. This hook comes with an eye, but I'll also show you how to tie it with a shank. We take the line and thread it through. And this is very important, guys, because different anglers do it differently. Who threads the line from the front, who threads the line from the back. This is important because the hook will hang differently in different cases. If you thread it through from the back, it will hang like this. If it's in front, it will hang down a little bit like this at an angle. So I still recommend threading the line from the front of the hook. We thread it through the eye and pull it through. Here we take quite a large distance. Let's make a loop, guys. And we hold this loop down here with our finger. For our hook, here we have a double end, and this is the main line. This is the line that comes from the loop, and we wrap it around once. Turn 2, 3, 4, well, 5. They make 6 turns just like proper anglers do. It's important that all these loops go strictly one above the other on our hook's shank. You see, they go one after the other, and that's very important. Now we grab it and we thread this end from the back into our loop, and we moisten everything here as well. And all this stuff now, we tighten it up, and here we have a great knot, just fantastic. You see, it holds together perfectly. All the loops are stacked on top of each other. They hold onto each other, all the loops. So it comes out from the front, and here everything is also tightly secured. It is also very important in this case to trim the free edge of your friends. A few millimeters, leaving it like this. We cut off the excess end. This way, this knot can stretch a little in the areas of our loops. So here we also leave 3 to 4 millimeters. Here it is, my favorite fishing knot. Now I'll show you again how to tie the same knot for a hook without an eye, but with a paddle. Here we have the eye, but we won't be threading it through. We double the line. We pinch it here. Here goes the main end. Here we go, 1, 2, 3. 4. Hinter. We make loops, grab it, and this end just like that. We thread it through here, and now we just pull everything tight. That's it. We've tightened it. And for us guys, it works out. You see, it's not held through the eye, but the line goes to the side. Here she is. So the side of the eye is free. Now we just tighten everything up, pull it tighter as you need, and that's it. The excess free end is cut off. Guys, that's basically all the main 5 knots for fishing. I told you, if you liked this video, support me with a like, leave your comment, friends, and write in the comments what main nodes you use. Maybe it's some knot from the ones I showed, if I made any mistakes in tying the knots or in their names. Friends, don't scold me too much, because you know that any knot can be redone 10 times. And the names vary in different regions and among different people. So that's how it is. I hope this video was helpful to you and will definitely come in handy while fishing. And also let me know in the comments, do you remember any of these knots by heart from what I showed you? I wish you all good luck, tight lines, and plenty of fish. May all viruses stay away from you, and may you catch big fish like this. Goodbye everyone.